What a mess the space industry has got itself into. The fantasists are hoping the private sector can keep their delusions alive. But as we're about to see, as we take a look at what's gone on in space this week, it's only getting worse and worse for the fantasists. Bear with me. First up, we got this guy calling out NASA.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today I'd like to bring to your attention a potential fraud on an enormous scale happening in your county. There's now clear evidence of NASA using numerous methods to grossly mislead the public about astronauts being on the International Space Station. During interior ISS scenes from NASA's own live feed, the use of wires, harnesses, green screens, and virtual reality have been detected to achieve the appearance of a weightless environment. This begs the obvious question. If they're really up there, why are they using Hollywood techniques to fake the footage? Are they in space or are they underwater? Now, what's really interesting is that they train for spacewalks in an underwater pool with a complete ISS replica. Now, surely they aren't filming these spacewalks in an underwater pool and then editing them to appear if they're in space, because that sure would be something, wouldn't it? I'm calling on the Brevard County Commissioners to open a full investigation into NASA's fraudulent practices and use of taxpayer dollars. It costs NASA $3 billion per year to operate the ISS, and if they don't have a darn good explanation as to why they're faking these videos, I and the public would like a darn good explanation as to where our tax money is going. It is our duty to expose and eliminate this fraudulent and astronomically wasteful ISS program. And look, I know what you're all thinking. NASA is part of the federal government, and you're just county commissioners. Even if what I'm saying is true, what can you do? But let me remind you, not only is this happening in your county, as public officials, you have the platform and the ability to make a statement or hold a press conference, alerting the public, state, and federal authorities to investigate further. You have the power to start the conversation. I look forward to the day that $3 billion annual budget is put towards our veterans, our homeless, maybe some of that mental health stuff the young lady just spoke about, and the revitalization of Brevard County.
Well said, young man. And this is why NASA are desperately pushing the private sector to try and wash their hands, give this industry some kind of more validity, if you like, by introducing the private sector. Because more and more people like this young man on our screen here are calling out NASA, highlighting the tactics they use as the game's quite clearly up. So, of course, this big push for the private sector is on. But when we look at the private sector, like we're gonna now, it's bordering on mockery. So the more people that, like this fella, speak up, highlight it, demand explanations, demand investigations, and of course hold people accountable, whether it be your local educational board or a teacher, a headmaster, start holding these people accountable for what they're teaching to your kids. And if they're going to defend absurdities like the globe, demand science. We all know they haven't got it because of the fundamentals of this reality tell us the globe's impossible. Of course, I wouldn't be here on YouTube all these years later if the globe had science. And of course, NASA wouldn't need to push the private sector, and people like this gentleman here wouldn't be calling them out, and of course people like myself as well wouldn't be calling them out left, right and centre if the globe was real and NASA's claims the space industry was genuine. But like I say, let's have a look at the private sector. It's not like they're up in the game. It's almost like we're going back in time. It's crazy. Now we're over at the private sector, in this instance, iSpace. iSpace have supposedly got a craft to orbit the moon, take an historical photograph, and then land on the moon. We're going to look at that clip in a minute. But first we're going to entertain this historical photo. We've received another incredible photo from the camera on board our Mission 1 lander. Seen here is the lunar Earthrise during a solar eclipse, captured by the lander-mounted camera at an altitude of about 100 kilometers from the lunar surface. Sounds incredible! That is until you look at it. We get a retro old school computer graphic interpretation of a scientifically impossible globe Earth in a vacuum. Incredible. Now, anyone coming here to try and defend the validity of this, please don't expect me to take you seriously. Please don't. I'm guessing what? The graphics, 15, 20 years old maybe? Nothing wrong with a bit of retro old school computer graphics or interpretations of a fantasy world. But it's not reality, is it? And it would seem the push for the private sector isn't really doing the fantasists any favours. This is terrible, lads. So let's check out iSpace's historical moon landing. Before we've even begun, we can see there's some incredible technology on offer here.
手元に持っていただきながら、ご案内差し上げたいのであります。そちらもご覧になっております。配線上で
Doesn't this look amazing?
Well, this is real video,
Yes.
not CG.
No,
It's amazing.
it's really hard to believe. But it looks amazing. And our simulation might have lost its connection with the MCC. No reason for concern yet. We are still seeing the animation going. 3 kilometers per hour. Only meters above the surface now. And now we are at the moment of planned landing time. Again, everyone, please give us a few moments to confirm. We see all the...
That, ladies and gentlemen, is the private sector for you. Data that no one can verify, cartoons, and ridiculous claims that no one can verify. Nothing good comes from this. Don't get me wrong, the people in the control room who read data and interpret cartoons as reality get paid very handsome for that. But it's just a charade, a very obvious one at this point. And to finish off, we've got another historical moment from space. This time, a first ever direct image of a black hole expelling a jet. I have to say, I'm incredibly impressed by the zoom capabilities shown here by these guys. Look! Now, admittedly, that is some trippy far-out stuff that no doubt will tickle the undercarriage of many far-out fantasists. But clearly for people in the real world, these cartoons just ain't cutting it anymore. Which is why we've got members of the American public calling out NASA demanding an investigation. The globe can't be proven by any single person on this earth because it's impossible. And space is clearly, as I've shown just today, is a charade held together by data, cartoons, and a bizarre belief system. The more people that hold these clowns accountable, the quicker the curtain comes down on this silly pantomime. It's up to you now.